Today we want just to cover the passing chords in the key of F sharp. If you're not subscribed, kindly subscribe and let us learn together how to worship the Lord God Almighty with this instrument. So let's dive into it. Today we are learning the passing chords in the key of F sharp. Actually, a passing chord is a chord that you used before moving to another chord. And before we go to the passing chords, we need to understand some concept of the scale and the number system. The scale and the number system. The scale and the number system forms the basis of everything. So let us start with the scale. So what I did there is I played the scale. The scale, the first chord is the scale. The scale is actually do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So it's number 1 to number 8. Actually number 8 is number 1. It's actually number 1 to number 7. So we need to understand number 1. Number 1 is a major chord, number 2 is a minor chord, number 3 is a minor chord, number 4 major, number 5 is a major chord, number 6 is a minor, number 7 is a diminished chord, and we are back to number 1, which is a major. I played the inversion. When I was doing this, I played the inversions of F sharp. This is the first chord, this is the root chord, first inversion, second inversion. Number 2 in the scale is G sharp minor. This is the root chord, first inversion, second inversion. Then number 3 is A sharp minor. This is the root chord, first inversion, second inversion. Number 4 is a B. This is a first inversion. This is a root chord, first inversion, second inversion. Number 5 is a C sharp. This is a first inversion. This is a root chord, first inversion, second inversion. Number 6 is D sharp minor. Root chord, first inversion, second inversion. Number 7 is a diminished, F diminished. Root chord, first inversion, second inversion. And back to number 1. So this is something very important to note. And before I introduce the passing chord, there is also something I want you to note: the movement of chord. Number 1 moves to any chord. Like number 1 can go to number 4, number 1 can go to number 2, number 1 can go to number 3, number 1 can go to number 5, number 1 can go to number 6. Number 2, here when you are number 2 in the scale, number 2 always goes to number 5. Not always, but there is a tendency always number 2 resorts to number 5. So when you do something like this, goes to number 5. Then number 3 always has a tendency of going to number 6. So when I play number 3, I'm likely to go to number 6. Number 3 has a tendency of going to number 6. And number 4 has a tendency of going to number 5. When you're number 4 has a tendency of going to number 5. Then number 5 has a tendency of going to number 1. Usually most of the songs end here in number 5. Then you go to number 1. Has that tendency. Then number 6, when you're in number 6, has a tendency of going to number 2. So then number 2 has a tendency of going to number 5, you realize. So it's number 6. something like that. And number 7 has a tendency of going to number 3. So you see, number 7 to number 3. Number 4 to number 5. These are just basics. I don't mean that they always go, but they have the tendency. So you have also to keep that in mind, that 1 goes to any key, to any chord, number 2 goes to number 5, number 3 goes to number 6, number 4 goes to number 5, number 5 goes to number 1, number 6 goes to number 2, then number 7 goes to number 3. This also to keep in mind. But let's jump to this. Usually when you the passing chords are caused to fill the vacuum. Like when I move from number 1 to number 2, I use this passing chord to number 2. So to number 2, to number 2. So passing chord to number 2 is drop 2 diminished. Drop 2 diminished. This number 2, this drop 2. So in number 2 in the scale, drop 2 in the scale. So I use this diminished to go to number 2. Number 2 can be used to be a passing chord to go to number 3. You can use number 2 as a passing chord to number 3 or passing chord to number 6. So before going from number 2 to number 3, you can again use this diminished chord, drop 3 diminished chord to number 3. This is a drop 2 diminished chord. If you don't know how to form a diminished chord, I think I will cover that. Diminished chords, you count 3 3, and how to form a minor chord, and sus2 chord, sus3, sus4, and major and minor chords. You need to know how to form them so that you can be using it, applying it in every key. The concept is the same in any key. So before moving to number 4, you usually use number 3 as a passing chord to number 4. Number 3 before moving to number 4. Then before moving to number 5, there are 2 passing chords that I usually use here. Then major 2, this is number 2, you usually use minor 2. We realize number 2 is a minor, should be a minor, but I usually use a major 2. This is major 2, this is G sharp major. I usually use it to move to number 5. So then another chord that you use to go to number 5 is usually you move to 1 over 5. 1 over 5, I mean you are playing on the left number 5, on the right you are playing number 1. So you use a B minor. This, I think this is a root chord, first inversion of B minor. First inversion of B minor moves you to 1 over 5. So before you play 1 over 5, you usually use this passing chord. 1 over 5, use B minor. Yes. So another chord that we use, a passing chord that are not commonly they are not maybe in the scale. Another passing chord, before when you are in number 1, then you want to move to number 4, then like this, you can use this E. This we call it flat 7. This is number 7, this is flat 7. So you use flat 7 to move to number 4. So when you are in number 1, I mean when you're in number 1, so number 1, use flat 7. Use flat 7 to move number 1. So flat 7 is an E major. So when you're in number 1, you use this flat 7 to move to number 4. Yeah. Another chord, passing chord. So I want to cover everything. So when you are in number 3, sometimes there is a gap that exists. I have explained this in various videos. When I'm here, I will use this passing chord, drop 2. From number 3 to number 2. Now we are going backwards. When you're moving from number 3 to number 2, you use that drop 3 passing chord to go back to number 2. So it's like this: number 3, you are here in number 3, then that drop 2, that drop 3, I mean, you see that diminished chord to number 2. So you realize I usually use this most of the time to move to number 2. That's when you are going backward, so you can use all that. Then also remember to be using this passing chord when you end a song. I usually end with it. So this just like passing chord to fill that gap. When the song has ended, you use it's called a progression. You use 6 7 1 progression. 6 6 6 7 1 when you're ending song. 6 7 1. So 6 is a minor, then 7 is a diminished, then 1. So that's also a passing chord. You're going to number 1. So learn so much of the passing. The passing chords are actually just the normal chords, but you're using it to pass from one chord to another to break boredom. We don't want you to be playing the dry chords. Those are dry chords. Now see passing chord. That's now passing chord with passing chord with passing chord with passing chord. I'm using passing chord. And the other thing to note, be used to move along the across the piano. Don't stick to this area only, but be the person who making some moves and some rifts there. It's like this. Before I move to 5, it's not always that I move to 5 this way. Sometimes I may decide to do this when you're going to 5. So you see that's actually a passing chord. So before I go to number 4, I did something like you see, just to make it not boring. You use something like this. This is a filler chord. So you realize when I hit here and I move. So these are filler chords. So you see, it makes it beautiful. So sometimes when I have a sustain pedal, you know, I don't have a sustain pedal here in my house. I don't have one, but I want to buy one. It's a very good thing to also learn to use it. Sustain pedal makes it very good, especially when you are stick on sustain. Sometimes you want to break that boredom, then you release the sustain pedal, then you do something like this. You pass from number 1 to number 4. Maybe I'm planning to land at number 4. I use something like this. When I'm now holding sustain, there's no sustain. I can move down now from number 1 to number 5. So when you have a sustain pedal, there are some tricks that you can use. You can move even from number 3 to number 1. These are passing chord. I'm just passing chord. I hope you can see this to make you not boring. So you see, this is a passing chord. This is a passing chord. So I'm targeting to go to number 1, but I start from here. You see, this is number 2, number 1, number 2 again, but inversion, different inversion. Then I land to number 1 tone. So you see, so this is number 5, number 6, number 7, and number 1. That's just a passing chord that I'm using. 5, 6, 7, 1 when I have finished the song. So you see, so learn to move across the keyboard. So the piano demands that you know all in the versions. Know all in version. It doesn't matter what key you're playing. If you know all in version, it doesn't matter what key you are playing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You are in which key. Another key that's related to F sharp is a B. So this is a B. Somebody might confuse it with the F sharp. It's actually related to. If you want to learn another key that is related to F sharp, this is a B. It's also very easy. When you know F sharp, it's very easy for you to know. Also C sharp, when you know F sharp, C sharp is also very key because you encounter the same things you played here. So C sharp is also very easy. It's the same concept all over. So may God bless you. Subscribe for more, and may God bless you. I've actually taken a lot of time explaining this. I hope you've gotten it, and I hope you worship the Lord in a holy way, in a pleasing way. And I really need you to improve your playing. Be blessed as you subscribe, as you learn, as you share, as you comment. Be blessed.